Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi. Now really the most common thing I get asked to show on this channel is how to make capes for Star Wars figures. So I'm slowly working my way through all the capes, and today we're going to get on to Yoda, which is probably one of my favourite figures just because he's so tiny. And Yoda without his cape doesn't look that impressive. You can see here this little naked Yoda, not that impressive, but when you've got him with his cape and all of his little bits, his little snake and belt and his little walking stick, that looks like Yoda. So without it he's just a bit plain, and that's why we're going to make a new cape for him today. And it shouldn't be too much of a job. It's a tiny little bit of fabric with a small amount of sewing, and we should be able to make something that looks pretty good. So let's get straight on with it. The first thing we need to do is actually to work out a pattern how this cape was originally made, and the best way to do that is to turn it inside out, and so that all of the seams are visible. You might need something to sort of push these sleeves through because Yoda's hands and arms are very tiny. So once that's inside out, you get a better idea of the shape of the cape. So that's from the back, and then we look from the front. And from this we can work out a pattern. Now I've already done this because it takes me about 20 minutes to do. I've got some squared paper here, and I end up just sort of laying the cape on the paper and drawing around it, making a few measurements where need be, and you can sort of generally work out the rough shape of it. I then do a bit of fine tuning of this and sort of cut out a few versions and sort of make a rough to fold back onto the figure just to see if it works. But you can see there, that's the back section, and then we have these two flaps here which are the sort of front portions. And once I've got something like that I'm happy with, I'll take this image into Photoshop and work up a final design for the pattern, one that I can allow all my users to download from toy-polloi.com, something that's fairly simple and easy to use. So let's get this pattern worked up into a sort of final version, and then we can go about making the cape. And here it is finished, so you can see that's a much neater design and something that everyone can easily copy. Now for the fabric for Yoda's cape, it is made out of a material called toy knit. Now unfortunately I've not been able to find toy knit in this colour. I have it in a sort of darker brown, and you'll have seen me use this for making the Luke Jedi cape, and it actually wouldn't look too bad in this sort of colour, because the finish of the material is right, but obviously it's not quite the right shade. So I'm going to use something different to make this. At some point I hope to find toy knit in this sort of lighter colour, but today we're going to go back to using some felt, and I've found a few different colours, and I'm hoping one of those will match. Now these are the felts that I picked up, and I bought them from a place called Pixie Rose. I actually bought them off eBay. They do have their own website, but you can buy them on their own website if you want to. And I bought 3 different colours because obviously buying online, it's very hard to tell what sort of colour you're going to get. So I bought 3. This top one is cream, and you can see that's not a great match. Then the next one down is actually called honeysuckle, and that is a pretty reasonable match. That's maybe a little bit too sort of bright, but it's a very close match. And then the third one I bought, which is actually the one I'm going to use, is called mushroom, and this is a little bit more of a muted colour. Now this one again is a very close match, but I think this sort of slightly muted tone matches how Yoda looked in the movie slightly more than this original sort of Kenner cape look. So I'm going to use that one, although the honeysuckle is pretty close as well, just looking at it. It's going to be a hard choice. You can buy these, they have so many colours on this website, it's really sort of hard to pick which one's right, but I sort of picked this end of the spectrum here, and they're very cheap. I think each sheet is £1. If you buy 3 they give you a bit of a discount, so it's no problem sort of buying a few of them, and some of these will work for some other restorations that I want to do. So I'm going to go mushroom, but I think honeysuckle might be just as good, but I think the mushroom colour is just a little bit more muted, so let's use that today. Now with this pattern, what I normally do is I stick double-sided tape on the back of it, and then cut it out, and you cut out so you remove the grey lines and you just end up with the white bit, and the double-sided tape makes it very easy to stick onto the felt or whatever material without it moving around. So I've actually already got one prepared just to save me showing you over and over again the same sort of process. So this just has some double-sided tape on the back of it, and we can stick this in the corner of the felt. And I'm sticking it in the corner because obviously you don't want to waste too much of it, and because I'm going to be able to use this felt for some other projects. And once that's lined up like that, we can just cut it out. Now we've got the cape cut out, we can sort out sewing it together. All we've got to do is fold these 2 little flaps forwards, and you'll see they line up with the bottom part of the cape pattern, and we just need to sew along this tiny curved edge. That's the sort of underarm part for Yoda. We have to do that on both sides. So I've got some thread here, and I've got a colour that sort of matches as close as I can get to this felt. And I'm just going to carefully sew along, make sure that it's all nice and neat, and once that's done we can then turn the cape inside out, and that will be the final effect that we're looking for. So just a quick little bit of sewing. You don't have to be particularly neat on this. I've sort of learning that my skills for sewing are not so bad. I keep hoping that I'm going to improve, which I don't really, but even a rough bit of sewing will look quite good by the time it's all in place. Just sort of make sure there's not any threads caught, and you can always cut away the bits that don't look quite right. So let's just get that sewn along, and we'll do the same on the other side as well. With both sides sewn, we're now ready to turn this back inside out. Again, I'm going to use a paintbrush to do this because I don't want to sort of break the sewing I've done by pushing my finger through the armholes, and I think this little paintbrush just makes it a little bit easier to get those bits turned inside out. We should have something that looks like Yoda's cape, which we do. I think that's pretty reasonable. And you can see that my sewing isn't great, but even on this it works just good enough to make a decent looking cape. So let's get this onto one of the figures and we'll compare it to the original. Now I always like to put the capes on by folding the arms back. That seems to be the easiest way of doing it. And you can slot it over Yoda's arms, and we can get it on the figure. I think it's going to look quite nice. The colour is a really nice match actually. I think that's the other honeysuckle colour would have looked a little bit too bright, so I'm pretty pleased with how this is looking. Oh yeah, that's looking nice. Right, well I'm just going to get this all lined up and in the right position. We'll put a belt and stuff on him, and we'll compare him to an original figure.
Toy-polloi.
And here is the finished Yoda. As you can see, the cape actually works very nicely. The colour match I'm really pleased with. The felt fabric is a little bit thicker than the toy knit fabric. If I bring in an original here, you can see the sort of difference you get. The toy knit fabric is a very light material, but the colouring works very nicely. So overall, I'm really pleased with how that is. I did actually make another one of these capes using the toy knit material I have, but as I say, it's a slightly darker shade. So you can see the sort of finish of that one, the actual sort of weight of the material and the cut is a lot closer to the original, but the colour is way off. So hopefully I'll find some of the toy knit in this much lighter colour at some point, but until I do, I'm pretty happy with how the felt works. Now, as I say, the pattern for this cape will be available on toy-polloi.com, so if you want to make your own, please go to my website and download it. It's a free file, so make what use of it you can. Hopefully there'll be a lot of Yodas out there that need capes making for them, and we'll end up with a lot of Yodas that look like this again. So I hope this video has been of interest to you, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.